with an outlay of approximately $10 billion for the development of the semiconductors and display manufacturing ecosystem in the country. Laying the foundation of a robust and sustainable semiconductor manufacturing ecosystem, the program will provide fiscal support of 50% on pari passu basis by central government. That is, Government of India will match the investment at every stage. Further, additional support of up to 20 to 25% will be provided by the state government in establishing semiconductor fabs, display fabs, compound semiconductor fabs, ATMP OSAT facilities, and discrete semiconductor device manufacturing in India, together with a three-tier financial support for promoting design-linked incentives in the form of infrastructure support, product design, development, and deployment. While the world asks how India will deliver, we are well on the way to transforming the dream into reality. India is home to an exceptional semiconductor design talent pool, which makes up 20% of the world's semiconductor design engineers. Nearly all the top 10 semiconductor design companies have their design or R&D centers in India. The program also targets 85,000 skilled workforce specialized in semiconductor design and manufacturing by 2026. Additionally, it will aim to modernize and commercialize the Semiconductor Laboratory (SCL) at Mohali in Punjab by exploring a joint venture with a commercial fab partner. Since 2014, the Narendra Modi-led government has transformed India's mobile manufacturing ecosystem from import substitution to export-led growth. Today, India is the world's second largest mobile handset manufacturer, and its domestic manufacturing meets more than 95% of the domestic demand. The export of mobile handsets increased twofold within 1 year. The government is also supporting the development of electronic manufacturing, high-tech clusters, and common facility centers, such as the exclusive Semicon city in Dholera, Gujarat, with a land availability of 10,000 acres and more, with quality water and power supplies. At a time when humanity was stuck in the pincer of the worst known pandemic in over a century, India took care of its health and economy and provided for the world. India dreams big and delivers bigger. As it enters its Amrit Kal, the golden period, its aim for 2047, when it completes 100 years of independence, propels it forward. India is committed to being a trusted partner for a diversified and resilient semiconductor supply chain. Come, be a part of the mega electronics revolution in India and explore colossal growth potential and an opportunity to thrive. How do you become the world's largest manufacturing hub? By creating the necessary policy environment? By building a robust digital infrastructure? More than 880 billion internet users. By paving the path for the next wave of technological revolution. By nurturing the world's fastest growing startup ecosystem. All this and more. Welcome to New India, that is rapidly moving towards becoming the world's largest manufacturing hub. Truly following the spirit of cooperation in a fragmented world, the Government of India's mantra, Make in India for the World, is creating a conducive environment and framework to establish India as a resilient global electronics and semiconductor supply chain partner. Semiconductors play a vital role in our world today in more ways than one can imagine. And India is where the new gen of semiconductor space is fast taking shape. India's electronics manufacturing has leapt from $29 billion in 2014-15 by 2025-26 It is expected to exceed 300 billion US dollars. Electronics rapid growth will continue due to production-linked incentive and other schemes, with semiconductor industry demand increasing to 110 billion US dollars by 2030. Under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership, India has taken a giant stride towards meeting this goal with the launch of the Semicon India program, a visionary scheme with an outlay of approximately 10 billion US dollars for the development of the semiconductors and display manufacturing ecosystem in the country. Laying the foundation of a robust and sustainable semiconductor manufacturing ecosystem, the program will provide fiscal support of 50% on pari passu basis by central government. That is, Government of India will match the investment at every stage. Further, additional support of up to 20 to 25% will be provided by the state government in establishing semiconductor fabs, display fabs, compound semiconductor fabs, ATMP OSAT facilities, and discrete semiconductor device manufacturing in India, together with a 3-tier financial support for promotion.
Thank you so much for the video. We would like to welcome everyone to today's event on enhancing India-Japan collaboration in SMEs sector. 皆さんは本日のセミナーにご参加いただきまして誠にありがとうございます。Next, may I invite His Excellency Mr. C.B. George, Ambassador of India to Japan, to give the opening remarks. これより知日インド大使 C.B. ジョージ閣下より開会挨拶をいただきます。
Good afternoon, everybody. Mr. Monit Ganatra, Head Corporate Banking and MNC North Asia, ICICI Bank, Hong Kong. Mr. Satoshi Irashi, General Manager of Sishin Central Bank. Mr. Yutaka Yoshida, Head of International Support Center. Hamamatsu Iwata, Shinkin Bank. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to speak to you today on SME cooperation between India and Japan. I'm very happy that we are able to put together this event at short notice, and also our friends have joined in this event despite today morning being a rainy day. SME is one sector which we need to focus a lot. If you look at India-Japan relationship, we have excellent business engagement. When you look at India's economic transformation since independence, Japan has always been an important partner at every sector. I always talk about the starting point as the automobile sector. Suzuki came to India 40 years ago. It benefited both the countries. It transformed India's automobile sector. It also transformed Suzuki, and it transformed our bilateral relationship. Today, Suzuki continues to be 40% of India's market. Very diversified in their presence. Go to any part of the country, you will come across a Suzuki. And they are also now manufacturing in India, for India and for Middle East and even Africa, and even for Japan. This kind of economic engagement by many countries have happened in India's economic transformation. Today we have 1,500 Japanese companies. These are 1,500 success stories. And these success stories are told repeatedly at different parts of Japan and in India. There are 12 JITs, Japan Industrial Townships in India. Again, a lot of engagement is happening. These are success stories, working well. But what we need to do is to scale it up. Japan today is the 5th largest economy in the world. 15 years ago, Japan was the 2nd largest economy in the world. I would like to see it as an opportunity for Japan to work with India to get back to its number 2 position in the world as the 2nd largest GDP, if it has 1,000 companies like Suzuki which can engage closely with India. Imagine there are 1,000 Suzukis in India, some companies. Daikin is doing it now. Toyota is doing it now. We see more and more companies coming, big companies. But I would like to get more small and medium scale companies also to come to India. India is growing 6 to 7% every year. Every part of the country there is a transformation is taking place, economic transformation. We would like Japan to benefit from that. In my last 2.5 years in Japan, I had the opportunity to travel all across this beautiful country. I went to all the 47 prefectures multiple times. Everywhere that I went, I interacted with the local chamber, the local banks. I see an opportunity for the small and medium scale companies, for us to engage with them and for them to engage with India. Many of them have engagement with one country or the other, even outside Japan. Some of them have engagement with China, some have engagement with Vietnam, some have with Indonesia. But if a Japanese company has already an engagement with a foreign country, it is much easier for them to also to look at India. India has its own challenges. We have made significant progress in our ease of doing business, climbed several layers. It's much better than it used to be in the past. We have but challenges. But that challenges also offer opportunities. My target this year is to reach out to 100,000 Japanese SMEs, 100,000 of them. And how do I do it? Through the local banks, through the SMEs. And I see it happening. Last 2 years, we had 9 governors of Japan prefectures visited India with business delegations. More are on the pipeline. Similarly, I see from Indian states, large number of visits have taken place on a regular basis. So there is an engagement, there is an interaction. And big companies do not need a hand-holding by us. But whereas small companies, small and medium scale companies needs that hand-holding. They should be able to identify who are their partners, reliable partners for joint ventures, for tie-up. That is the role we can play, and that's the role which the embassy tried to play here. We have set up a small and medium scale facilitation center in the embassy. We get a lot of queries which we reply, and also we connect them with with Indian companies through our chambers in India. JETRO is a partner in this effort for us. We have excellent political relationship, and we are looking for a visit of our leadership to Honorable Prime Minister to Japan in coming months. I would like SME to be an important sector in this during that visit, on which we should have a India-Japan SME forum to focus on that. I would like to have the banks as an important partner in that, because small and medium scale companies, they are not in Tokyo. Of course there are some in Tokyo, but most of them are in prefectures. So the banks have a very important role to connect. So these kind of seminars would be a step in that direction to enhance that connectivity between our two countries. We do seminars like this in prefectures also. Last year I think we had done something like 30 seminars, business meetings in various prefectures, in addition to what we did here on regular engagement. We also go and address various events being organized by the various chambers and organizations. So we would be very happy to continue to connect with you, work with you to make our SMEs connect with each other. Government of India is giving a lot of support for SMEs to connect. I would not like to get into the details because we have experts to speak on that. So look forward to working with you. Thank you for joining us. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Sir, for your remarks. Next, we'd like to invite Mr. Satoshi Igarashi, General Manager of International Business Division, Shinkin Central Bank, to deliver a presentation. 続きまして、新金中央金庫海外業務推進部長、五十嵐聡様よりプレゼン発表をいただきます。
Thank you very much for introduction. His Excellency Mr. Shu George, Ambassador of India to Japan, Mr. Monit Ganatra, Head of Corporate Banking, ICICI Bank, Hong Kong Branch, Mr. Yutaka Yoshida, Head of International Support Center, Hamatsu Iwata Shinkin Bank, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your continuous support and cooperation. I am very much delighted to join this seminar. I'd like to share our activities to connect India and Japan by supporting our SME customers. Sorry, but I'd like to continue with Japanese because there are several Japanese colleagues here. 皆様、ここからは日本語でお話をさせていただきたいと思います。ご存知の方も多いかと思いますけれども、私ども新金中央金庫は信用金庫業界の中央機関でございまして、日本に今254信用金庫がございます。信用金庫は地域、北北海道から沖縄までですね、地域の中小企業をサポートするのを専門として、各地にそれぞれ散らばっておりまして、その中央機関として私ども新金中央金庫がございます。設立は1950年、今総資産としては40兆円ということで、日本有数の金融機関となってございます。私ども新金中央金庫の役職員自体は1200人ということではございますが、信用金庫自体はですね、全国に7000店舗ありまして、各地の地域のお客様のサポートをさせていただいてございます。こちらが私ども新金中央金庫の海外ネットワークになります。私ども信用金庫業界のお客様は、今、日本全国からですね、海外の方に大体4000社ほど展開をされていらっしゃいます。そのうち約1000社が中国、500社がタイ、500社がベトナムということで、中国、東南アジアへの進出がメインとなってはございますが、私ども今集計しているところでは、大体80社ほどがインドの方に進出されていらっしゃる。引き続き、インドへ進出したいというお客様から多くのご相談をいただいておりますので、ここ数年でさらに増えていくものというふうに考えております。こういったお客様のするために、私ども今海外にですね、各地でお客様のサポートをさせていただいてございます。ご覧いただいている左手の方からですね、ヨーロッパにロンドンですねの方に新金インターナショナルで、そのまま下の方に目を移していただいて、今ちょっとこちらですね、ICICI バンクリミテッドとありますけれども、こちら今年の2月にMOU 覚書を結ばせていただいて、インドに進出されるお客様を ICICI バンク様と一緒にサポートしていこうということで取り組みを強化させていただいてございます。そしてバンコク、それから 駐在ということで、実は香港駐在員事務所については機能をですね、ベトナムのホーチミンの方に移しまして、そちらからさらに今ニーズが、こちらもニーズが高くなっているベトナムでのお客様のサポートを私どもが、日本それから海外で取り組んでいる事業ですね、大きく6つに分類させていただいてございます。まず1つ目が左上ですね、海外ビジネス相談ということで、日本にいても海外にいてもですね、いろいろとその貿易ですとか、あるいは資金、需要とか、さまざまなお客様の悩みがございますが、これについては私ども基本的にですね、私どもにご相談いただければ全てワンストップでお答えしようという体制で取り組ませていただいておりまして、さまざまなご相談、例えばインドでパートナーを探しているとか、ベトナムにこの商材を売りたいとか、いろんなご相談をいただいておるんですけれども、そういったご相談大体年間1000件ほどですね、いただいておりまして、そういった意味では1000社ぐらいですね、国内外のお客様のサポートを、入り口のご相談ということでサポートさせていただいてございます。中ほど上段がですね、海外販路開拓拡大支援ということで、ここもとは、円安の影響もありまして、日本から海外への販売の拡大をしたいというお客様が増えてございますので、こちらですね、海外の現地スタッフが例えばお客様がシンガポールに物を販売したいという時に私どもも同行させていただいて、現地での通訳兼サポートなんかもやらせていただいてございます。右上がこちらさらにそういった取り組みをハンズオンでやらせていただいている伴走支援といった呼んでいる取り組みになりますが、まさに今申し上げたようなですね、現地に私ども金融機関スタッフがそのものが現地に同行させていただいて、お客様の本業そのものをご一緒に手伝わせていただくということも今幅広く取り組ませていただいてございます。左下がお客様の資金調達の支援ということで、申し上げたようにですね、インドの ICICI バンク様と提携をしまして、今インドについてもルピー建ての資金需要なんかについては、これから出てくればですね、 ICICI バンク様と連携してしっかりお客様のそういった需要にお応えしようということで取り組ませていただいてございます。また真ん中下段と右側下段については少し趣が異なりますけれども、インバウンドの誘致ということで、今北海道ですとか京都にはお客様海外の個人の旅行のお客様かなり多く来ていただいておりますが、まだまだ日本国内にですね、よく知られていない素晴らしい景色、素晴らしい食べ物たくさんありますので、そういったものを知られていないものをまだまだこれから海外に紹介していこうといった取り組みもさせていただいてございます。で最後に右下が外国人材活用支援ということで、今日本は非常に少子高齢化が進んでおりまして、各地でインバウンド需要で景気といいますか、各地の経済が盛り上がってはいるものの働き手がいないということで、少しそこにブレーキがかかっている部分はございますけれども、これを外国、例えばベトナムの方々とかですね、フィリピンの方々に来ていただいて、一緒に日本国内で働いていただくことによって、この失われてしまう需要についてしっかり対応しようということで、素晴らしい方々をしっかりと我々のお客様のところにつなげるっていうような活動もさせていただいてございます。いくつか取り組みの事例挙げさせていただきますが、こちらがですね、商談会マッチングということで、写真はコロナ期間中にですね、海外と日本国内のお客様といいますか、海外のパートナー、ポテンシャルパートナーと私どもの日本国内のお客様をウェブでつないでですね、例えばそのビジネスパートナーとして手を組めるようにサポートさせていただいたり、 販売の拡大のサポートをさせていただいたりといった取り組みも、ウェブベースでやらせていただいているものです。次が、先ほど申し上げた伴走支援の例になりますけれども、中ほど、この方ですね、鯖江のメガネ協会の、中小企業の社長さんになるんですけども、シンガポールの方で、新たな販路の拡大ですね、メガネについていい商品なんですけれども販路がなかなかないということで、展示会に出展されるときに、私どものスタッフですね、青いハッピーのスタッフが一緒に販売に入らせていただいて、通訳兼サポートなんかもやらせていただいております。最後に、すみません、これはインドではなくてですね、インドではこれからいろいろ検討していきたいと思ってるんですが、手始めにタイの方で、実際に私どもが具体的に店舗を持ってですね、お客様の商品を販売している例になります。縁結びと呼んでおりまして、お客様日本各地のお客様の商品をですね、ああいった形で陳列させていただいて、実際の販売と、あとタイの方々のフィードバックなんかもいただいてですね、タイで今後物を販売するときにどういった商品の改良が必要なのかとか、さまざまなアドバイスをお客様にさせていただくというような取り組みをさせていただいておりまして、今後インド市場については私ども非常に大きな可能性を感じておりますので、できればこういった取り組みをインドにもこの先広げていけるようにしっかりとサポートを取り組んでまいりたいというふうに考えてございます。はい、以上私からのプレゼンテーションになります。ご清聴ありがとうございます。Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, sir, for your presentation. Next, we'd like to invite Mr. Yutaka Yoshida, Head of International Support Center, Hamamatsu Iwata Shinkin Bank, to deliver his presentation. 続きまして、浜松岩田信金銀行国際業務課海外サポートセンター長、吉田豊様よりプレゼン発表をいただきます。
皆さんはじめまして、浜松岩田信用金庫の吉田と申します。本日はこのような、プレゼンテーションの機会をいただきまして、誠にありがとうございます。こちらですね。本日はこちらにあります中小企業におけるインド展開支援の強化というテーマで、15分という短い時間ではありますが、お時間をいただきましてお話しさせていただきたいと思います。まずはじめにですね、私たち浜松岩田信用金庫、当金庫の、営業エリアについて少しお話しさせていただきたいと思います。我々浜松岩田信用金庫は、静岡県の西部ですね、静岡県の西の方を地盤とする中小企業向けの金融機関でございます。皆さんご存知の方も多いかと思いますが、静岡県の西部地域は、日本を代表する二輪、四輪メーカー、それから主要な、楽器メーカーの本社が置かれておりまして、また各社の創業に関わる、重要な土地ともなっております。具体的に見ていきますと、こちらの地図の方にございますが、まずピンク色ですね、見ていただきますと、まずスズキオートモービルのヘッドクォーターは、我々地元浜松市にございます。それから二輪モーターサイクルのヤマハモーターサイクルのヘッドクォーターも、浜松市の隣の岩田市というところにございます。また音楽関係ではこちらの青いところでご覧いただきたいんですけれど、ヤマハ、ミュージカルインストゥルメントヤマハのヘッドクォーター、それから河合楽器ですね、ピアノの河合の本社も、浜松市にございますし、あとそれからシンセサイザーキーボードのローランドのヘッドクォーターも同じく浜松市にございます。でさらにオレンジ色のこちらを見ていただきますと、トヨタ、オートモビルですね、トヨタの、ファウンダートヨタ佐吉さんは、我々浜松の近くこの隣の湖西市というところで、お生まれになっております。またホンダですね、ホンダ技研の、本田宗一郎さんがホンダ、モーターサイクルオートモビルを最初に創業しましたのも浜松市であるというところでございます。
でこうして見ていくとですね、我々浜松岩田信用金庫の営業エリア、静岡県の西部地域は、まさに輸送機器、楽器をはじめとするものづくりのメッカであると、ものづくりの町であるということがご理解いただけるかと思います。続きまして、我々浜松岩田信用金庫ですね、当金庫の取引先の海外進出状況について、少しお話しさせていただきたいと思います。こちらの地図が、当金庫、我々のお客様がどこの国に進出しているかについて、示したものでございます。で昨年の数字にもなりますんですが、現在取引先の、我々の取引先のうち、260社、486拠点が海外に進出しているという状況でございます。でこのうちですね、88%、この地図がアジアの地図で、あることを見ていただけますとおり、全体の 88% はアジアに進出しているという状況でございます。で国別に見ると、中国、タイ、インドネシア、ベトナムというのが1、2、3、4ですが、それについてインドが5番目に多くの取引先が進出しているという状況でございます。で続きまして、こうしたインドに進出している当金庫の我々の取引先の企業様が、について少し詳しく見ていきたいと思うんですが、冒頭申し上げました通り、私どもの地元、静岡県西部には、スズキヤマハ発動機といった二輪四輪の企業のヘッドクォーターもございますので、我々お取引先もそういった二輪四輪のパーツサプライヤーさんが多いという状況でございます。でインドへの進出もそうした大手メーカーの生産拠点の多くに進出することが多いという傾向がございます。で具体的に見ますと、鈴木さんの、パーツサプライヤーさんは、鈴木の生産拠点が、近くにありますハリヤナ州、それからラジャスタン、そしてグジャラートというところに多く進出しておられまして、こちらおおむね全体20数社出ておられるうちの半分以上が、鈴木さんのパーツサプライヤーとして鈴木さんのメーカー工場の近くに出ておられるという傾向がございます。でこれに続きましてヤマハ発動機さん、また後ほど説明させていただきますが、タミルナドの方にチェンナイに工場をお持ちでいらっしゃいますので、こちらの方にもヤマハ発動機さんのサプライヤーさんが進出しているというような、そうした傾向がございます。続きまして、ちょっと具体的にさらに見ていこうと思うんですが、大手企業であります鈴木さん、ヤマハさん、それぞれの展開について説明させていただきます。まず鈴木さんですね、鈴木オートモビル。鈴木は2023年度において、インド国内における、先ほどお話を頂戴しました自動車販売台数の 41.2% を占めるインドでも最大のメーカーになっているという状況です。で生産拠点はこちらにございます通り、当初グルガオンに進出しまして、続いてマネサール、グジャラート、そして今年2月にはグルガオンの北の方にカルコダというところがあります。そちらの方に工場も開業して、現在4拠点という体制になっております。インドでの年間の生産台数は2024年には200万台を超えたという発表がございましたが、将来的には2030年には400万台の生産体制を敷くということが計画されているということで、さらなる拡大が期待されるという状況でございます。続きましてヤマハ発動機さんについてです。ヤマハさんの、インドの現地法人インディアヤマハモーターさんは当初合弁企業として1985年に進出しましたが、2021年には 100% 出資子会社になって現在に至っているという状況です。ヤマハさんはインド国内に2つの工場、ウッタルプラデシュ州のスラジプールに1つ、それとタミールナド州のチェンナイに1つということで、2つの工場を今お持ちでいらっしゃいます。で前者スラジプールの工場は、モーターサイクルで、チェンナイの方はスクーターの生産を主に行っているというところでございます。 両工場、この2つの合計での生産台数は年間約100万台程度でありまして、インド全体ではもう2000万台という世界最大のモーターサイクルのマーケットでありますので、100万台を作っていても山さんはまだないというところで、それでもかなりの生産台数を誇っておられるというようなところでございます。続きまして、私たち浜松岩田信用金庫、浜松岩田信金の、海外サポートについて少しお話しさせていただきたいと思います。我々浜松岩田信用金庫では、私のおります国際業務課インターナショナルデパートメントという部署がございまして、こちらの部署において、取引先の海外展開支援を行っております。具体的には、例えば海外との資金移動、貿易取引など、輸出輸入とかですね、そういった場合に為替、それから非向け送金といった、いわゆる外国為替の取り扱いをするということはもとよりとしまして、それ以外にも例えば海外に工場進出するとか、そういった、展開支援、それから国内で生産した食品等の販路開拓、海外に売っていこうというような、そういう時にお手伝いをしたり、それから最近のご相談として多いのは、地元の人手不足ですね。やはり静岡県もかなり人材不足、人手不足が深刻化しておりますので、地元の人手不足を、解決するとか、人手不足に対する外国の人たちに来ていただいて働いてもらうという外国人人材の紹介といったご相談なんかが最近は多いということで、本当に幅広く、海外と名が付くものであったら、もう本当に幅広くご相談に乗らせていただくというような部署でございます。我々のおりますインターナショナルデパートメントというのは、そういった相談を受ける部署になっております。で、例えば海外で工場を作りたいというようなお客様が地元にいらっしゃったら、現地の法制度であったりとか、情報を提供したり、信頼できる現地のコンサルタント、外国の銀行さん、それから会計士さんだとかですね、そういった方を紹介する等によって、海外に出ていこうという取引先、地元の企業さんの進出を成功に導くというようなことでお手伝いしているというようなのが我々の部署の主な仕事になっております。で、そもそも我々、先ほど新金中央金庫さんの新金セントラルバンクさんの方でもお話ありましたけど、我々のお客様は中小企業 SME でございます。SME は従業員数で具体的には300人以下、それから資本金では9億円を超えないというふうな制限がございますので、ですから、中小企業、大きな会社ではありませんので、組織としては決して大きくない、海外に工場を作ろうとしても、なかなか人材面であったり、それから、情報収集能力などにおいて、どうしても自社、単体では限界がございます。で、そのような中小企業が海外展開をする場合に、日本でまず相談するのが金融機関、特に我々のような信用金庫でございますね。お客さんの中小企業、まず中小企業は信用金庫に相談に来るというケースがとても多いわけです。我々信用金庫はそういった悩みを抱える中小企業がまず相談できる相手として、よく言われるのはホームドクターと、その中小企業のホームドクターというような言われ方をしますけれど、そういった相談できる相手としての存在になっているわけです。で、ただとはいえ我々浜松岩田信用金庫自身もそんなに大きい金融機関ではございません。で、我々自身も自分たちが世界各国に例えばネットワークを持っているわけでもありませんし、情報を自分たちでいろいろ調査できるわけではありませんので、こちらにございますように、自治体、浜松市自治体であったり、ジェトロさん、それから外国銀行コンサルタントなどの外部の専門家の力も借りて、中小企業の皆さんのさまざまな相談に乗らせていただいているというわけです。中でも先ほど登壇された新金中央金庫さんで、新金セントラルバンクさんは、我々のような地方にいる金融機関、地方の信用金庫にとってはとても頼りになる存在ということで、いつも新金中央金庫の力を借りていろいろと相談に乗ったりしているというところでございます。で、この点についてちょっとページを少し飛ばさせていただいて、次のページにあるんですが、ちょっと新金中央金庫さんと我々の関係について少しお話しさせていただきたいと思います。 日本の国内はその信用金庫はエリアが信用金庫法という法律がありまして、エリアが定められています。我々浜松岩田信金では静岡県の西の部分でしか営業ができないエリアが定められておりまして、日本国内にはだからそういうエリアが定められた信用金庫が約250ほどあるわけですが、それぞれ単体の信用金庫では先ほど申し上げました大企業向けの融資だとか営業エリアを超えた業務活動などは法による制限があります。それから国際業務関係でも海外での店舗展開なんかは我々浜松岩田信用金庫で海外に支店を作ったりというようなこともできませんので、いろいろ多くの制約があるわけですが、そこで頼りになるのが信金中央金庫、信金セントラルバンクさんということでございます。で信金中央金庫であればそういった、個別の信用金庫では対応できないような調査活動であったりとか、いろいろなサポートをしてくださるということで、信金中央金庫が業界の中央機関として、我々を助けてくれていると。で特に信金中央金庫さんは、日本国内のトップクラスの国内でもトップクラスの外部格付けを持っていらっしゃいますので、その国際的に高い信用力を有した、調達であったりとかということで外貨調達とかで我々をサポートしてくれたりしております。ですので取引先の海外工場の拠点に対してさまざま金融サービスができるというのは信金中央金庫さんのいろいろサポートがあるということでできているということでございます。我々信用金庫の設立の基本理念の中で相互扶助、助け合いというモットーがございます。我々信用金庫は、共同組織金融機関という組織でございます。株式会社ではなくて、収益をメインとしているわけではなくて助け合いというのをメインとしているというふうな存在意義がございます。ですので取引先の海外展開を含めたさまざまな業務を信金中央金庫と一体となって助け合うというようなのが我々信用金庫業界の存在意義、存在理念であるということになっているわけです。1ページ戻っていただきました。失礼。で取引先の海外展開、中でもインドを展開を支援する一つの例を紹介したいと思います。で我々浜松岩田信用金庫では、今年に入って初めて、インドに進出している地元金融機関の地元企業の現地法人向けにクロスボーダーの融資を実行いたしました。実際のところインドには ECB 規制という規制がございまして、インドの現地法人向けに日本から行うファイナンスは必ずしも容易ではありません。しかしながら先ほどお話ししたとおり鈴木オートモービルさんですね、鈴木さんの現地法人では今後400万台というような計画が見込まれておりまして、そのサプライヤーであります当金庫の取引先のインド法人もさらなる資金のニーズが考えられるという状況であります。こちらにございますとおり、我々のクロスボーダー融資だけでなく、この後登壇していただきます ICICI 銀行さん、などとも協力して、こういったですね、現地法人のニーズには対応したいと思っております。これから対応することで、我々も検討しているところでございます。で最後に、我々の地元であります静岡県浜松市自治体の取り組みについて紹介させていただきたいと思います。我々の本店のあります静岡県浜松市は冒頭申し上げましたとおり鈴木本社の地元であると、本社が鈴木オートモビルのヘッドクォーターが地元にあるということもあってさまざまな方面においてインドとの連携を強化しております。具体的には2020昨年インド工科大学ハイデラバード校との MOU であったり鈴木の子会社との MOU 締結、グジャラート州のアーメダバード市との友好関係の構築などということでさまざまなインドの向けの体制構築を行っておりまして、今後はですねインド人材の受け入れ環境を整備してインドの人たちにとって働きやすいまちづくりをしていくほか、スタートアップをはじめとした企業間の連携 といったところですね、あと人材交流など、インド浜松両社の発展に貢献していくこととしております。で今後もですね、我々浜松岩田信用金庫では、地元の自治体や、新金中央金庫さん、そして ICICI 銀行さんをはじめとする皆様と協力し合いながら、地元の中小企業のインド展開を支援していくとともに、インドの皆さんが浜松に来られた際に、インドの皆さんにとって生活しやすいような環境を提供できるよう努めていきたいと考えております。本日はプレゼンの機会をいただきましてありがとうございました。
Thank you, sir, for your presentation. ありがとうございました。Next, we'd like to invite Mr. Monit Ganatra, Head Corporate Banking and MNC North Asia ICICI Bank Hong Kong Branch to deliver a presentation. 続きまして、ICICI 銀行香港支店北アジア法人銀行業務多国籍企業長モニックナテ様よりプレゼン発表をいただきます。
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my honor to be invited to speak to this event hosted by Embassy of India in Japan. I'm delighted to acknowledge the presence of His Excellency C.B. George, Ambassador of India to Japan, and all the dignitaries from the embassy. I also want to take this opportunity to acknowledge Igarashi-san from Shinkin Central Bank and Yoshida-san from Hamamatsu Iwata Shinkin Bank. ご列席の皆様、本日はお時間をありがとうございます。My name is Monit Ganatra from ICICI Bank, and I'll be speaking briefly about Indian economy and MSME sector in India. As we are all aware that, as promised by the US President Donald Trump, as per his campaign promise, he has unleashed a series of tariffs on all countries who has a larger trade balances with US. So we see that in about 1900s, a similar level of tariffs of 30% were there, which around 1930s were again increased, and now we see a similar trend coming up to 30%. The larger countries which have trade deficit or balance with the US, China, Eurasia, Mexico, Vietnam, these all countries, and Taiwan are the major impact which will have higher trade deficit with the US. Currently, there is a pause on that tariff increase. However, the base tariff of 10% do remain, which by 8th of July we are hoping to expect that a revised tariff will be implemented. Currently, US has signed trade deals with the UK, Saudi Arabia, and we expect that many countries would be signing such trade deals with the United States. In this graph, we are talking about an impact of global economy on US itself, as well as the impact on the countries which are exporting to the US. In this graph, we are talking about growth of the US. So if it was a pre-tariff area, the growth of the US was expected at about 2.4%. At the same time, if the reciprocal tariff at the highest level is implemented, the growth in the US is expected to fall to 1%. However, if the current status quo of 10% remains, which we are hoping that would remain, then the growth in the United States itself will be at around 1.5%, which is a fall from 2.4 to 1.5%. At the same time, the inflation will go up in the pre-area from 2.5% to 3.5%. This is an extreme. We don't expect that at these levels the inflation as well as the growth will remain. Most likely around the red graph area, the growth and the inflation will remain in the US. At the same time, if you see the second table here, the first line talks about how much percentage of exports is to US by that country in the percentage of GDP, and out of the total GDP, how much is the percentage of exports. Now you see countries like Vietnam, which 80% of their GDP is exports. Mexico 33, Canada 26, Thailand 55. These are the countries which have higher reliance on exports to support their GDP. At the same time, these all countries even have a higher share to US as a percentage of their exports. So the major impact countries are going to be in the top 5-6 which you see here. India currently may have a limited impact on the tariff, while one of the highest tariff of 26% was implemented. Currently it is at 10%. You see there are two parts of exports that happen to the US. One is the above part is the services exports, the below is the goods exports that happen, and in the second, as a percentage of GDP, the services export is 2.9% and 2.2% is the goods export. So surely there is going to be an impact, but currently there are trade talks which are happening between US government and Indian government, and we are hoping that this should be settled very soon. Currently, with the current tariff scenario which is expected, if you see on the first two lines, these are the two industries where the tariff impact is going to be minimal because they are currently excluded. And the second part, there is going to be a neutral impact, maximum being engineering and electronic goods items. The third table is basically the what we say is a discretionary spending, like mostly it is gems and jewelry, which is the highest part in this entire table. So it is mostly a discretionary spending that is going to be impacted. This is the data of the quarter 4. There was a positive surprise in the Q4. There was 7.4% growth on a year-on-year basis in the GDP, and this was basis the highest spending by the government and lower subsidies, and imports were also lowered down during the quarter 4 area. So we are expecting that FY25 the growth will be at around 6.5%, and lower energy prices and improvement in the corporate margins is also going to support on FY26. So with the current tariff scenario, we are expecting that the external account may worsen a little bit, but at the same time, if you see the domestic outlook of the Indian economy is increasing. So domestic travel in internally India is increased by 11%, which is added to the services. Services exports is gone up by about 11.8%. Government spending is also up now. So we are hoping that while there will be an external impact because of the export tariffs, but at the same time internally as a country the overall activities are increasing. And this is led by rural consumption as well. If you see the first graph, no, the FMCG volume, this is the urban percentage spending and this is the rural. So mostly the new demand is coming from the rural side of India. Currently, the government spending on the overall side, capex, that needs to expand about 65% if they want to continue to grow at 6.5 to 7% GDP. So we are hoping that the government will pick up the overall capex spending, and private capex, which fell about 9%, that is also expected to grow in the coming financial year, which will support the overall GDP. So if you see here on this chart, the services exports, they are steadily growing over the last many years. So in April 2021, about $8.4 billion of exports were happening. In 3 years, the exports have gone up by almost twofold to $15 to $18 billion of exports that services happen in India. This is one of the key parameters, that is inflation. Currently inflation is around 4%. This is well around the RBI's softer area. They do not want the inflation to go up drastically, neither they want to go down. So we are hoping that, we are expecting as a bank that economy inflation will remain at around 4%, which gives a lot of scope to the central bank in India to reduce rates, which further fuels the economy. However, we still believe that the current account deficit which the India is having will further widen. That would be led by, while our exports are increasing on the electronic side, we are seeing much more imports that will come to India. So current account deficit, which is at about $280 billion, will go up to about $300 billion in the FY26 estimates. What has happened in India which has made all these changes in the last 10 years? If you see, in 2014, India had 74 airports. In 2024, in 10 years, we have more than doubled our airports in India. And at the same time, the total passengers have doubled from 60 million to 154 million. That is the travel that has happened in India. About 2,500 metric tons of loads that India is handling now. Earlier it used to be 871 million. Even if you see the time of turnaround time, earlier used to be 14.4 hours. Now it is 14.4 hours compared to 93 hours earlier that we used to take time to turn around on the international shipment. 33% of our trains were electrified. Now almost 95% of the trains in 10 years are now electrified. That 91,000 kilometers of roads were there. In 10 years it's increased to 150,000 kilometers. Construction pace is about 34 kilometers per day, earlier from 11 kilometers per day. In 2014, we had 120 gigawatts of electricity generated from renewable sources, which has gone up from 120 to 191 gigawatts. And by 2030, 500 gigawatts of electricity will be generated through renewable sources. So these are the structural changes that has happened in India, which is further fueling the economy. When I was talking about solar, if you see 2023, we have less percentage of solar investments and 172 gigabytes compared to fossil fuels, or 244. This is expected to double. So 66% of energy generation will happen from renewable sources, and 33% is coming from fossil fuels. So if you see, the growth on the fossil side is not very large, but if you see renewable sources, it's drastically focused and increasing in India. Here, this is the solar capacity. If you see FY25, about $80 billion. This in FY28, in just 3 years, they are expected to be 198 gigawatts from just solar energy. This slide is basically talks about the digital drive that India has taken leap into. If you see now, by 2027, 1 billion internet users is going to be there in India. This is up from 150 million users in 2016. So that is the scale at which the number of users on internet has gone up. At the same time, 10 years back, less than 1 GB of data on an average was used by one user. Today, 30 GB of data is used by per user. So that is the scale at which it has grown in India. These are the numbers. If you see UPI, there were used to be 40 billion transactions, now 1400. This is the growth, and almost 2/3 of the transaction in the economy is happening through UPI. This is the data which talks about the corporate debt to GDP in India, and as a benchmark, currently India is at 52% of its GDP of corporate debt. Japan is at 250% of their GDP on corporate debt. China is at 165%. You see that the scale at which the Indian corporates have now today, they are generating so much cash, and they are deploying, they are not cashing on that cash, they are deploying that money into further capex, their own funds. So there is a lot of scope in the economy to further do capacity expansions. And this is supported by policies like production linked incentive schemes that the government has been fueling. So majority of this is going into electronics sector. See, on the real estate side, there are two takeaways mostly on this slide. One, if you see on the residential real estate, 46% of the real estate sales are happening on the premium segment, that is more than 10 million rupees and above. So the population is moving from a low class to a medium to a higher end spending on the real estate side. However, on the commercial side, most of the growth is coming from the global capacity centers, and we are also talking about seeing lot of global capacity centers have set up in India from the west. Now Japan is also picking up to set up lot of back end and engineering back offices in India. Here we are talking about how the exports and imports have moved over a period of last 10 years. So electronics have gone up, exports have gone up, as well as imports have gone up. This is where the SMEs come into play. While we are manufacturing in India a lot of electronics, we are seeing that in a mobile phone, if there are 200 different parts, all the parts are still being manufactured outside India. They come to India and that get assembled. That's where the SMEs who are producing these all small parts, we need them to come to India and manufacture there, so that the entire ecosystem is set up in India. So it's gone up from 7 billion to about 41 billion, capital engineering from 70 to 110, agri 39 to 51. So exports are increasing. However, at the same time, we are seeing growth in the import side as well. This is basically telling us that how electronics have supported, PLI scheme has supported the electronics sector in India. There are about 740 firms that have applied for the PLI scheme, and they have committed about 3.7 trillion rupees into India, out of which 1.5 trillion has been already invested into India. Now we are saying that this added about 1 million employment in India. You see this table on the right. In 2023, there were 10% of the iPhones globally were manufactured in India, which in 2017 was less than 1%. In 2025, more than 25% of the global iPhones will be manufactured and exported from India. This is basically talking about India's trade with various geographies, USA, China, EU. This is very interesting slide. Whenever we talk to any companies, they are all worried about rupee depreciation. They say that, okay, we invest $100, after 10 years we get $85 back. So basically they are losing money due to rupee depreciation as well. That is somewhat true. At the same time, we are saying that because of the external improvements of the overall parameters of India, we are seeing that rupee is now going into more stable territory. if you see the annual depreciation in the last few years, since 2008 to 12, there was about 8% of depreciation that rupee used to have. So if you invest 100, next year it is 92, then next year it is about 84. So it used to fall drastically. That came down to about 3.2% in between 13 and 18. In the last from 18 to 23, it again was about 5.9%, but we have seen now stability coming into the rupee. We are seeing that annual depreciation would be around 1.4% annually, and we are expecting that it would be in the range of 2 to 3% because of our overall parameters are coming into place. As His Excellency C.B. George was talking about the overall growth trajectory. So we were about 1 trillion in FY08, and in FY26 we would be around $4.6 trillion economy, which is expected to go up to 6.6 trillion economy. So in just 4 years we are going to go up from 4.6 to 6.6 trillion economy in India. Overall. This is quickly about India-Japan relationship. India's exports to Japan has been increasing at about 5.5% on a compounded rate. At the same time, India's imports from Japan has been increasing at around 8.4. Most of the commodities are engineering, chemical, transport equipments, which we export, and at the same time, same commodities on the other side, which is on the import side. We have 1,500 companies in India from Japan, and we share His Excellency's viewpoint that 1,500 is less. We need 15,000 Japanese companies in India. Japan was the first country who had set up a company into India. This was even before India's independence. In about early 1900s, companies were setting up, and one of the larger company after independence was Suzuki. We want this 6% to go up to 20%, and we want all your companies to look India positively. Currently, about all these companies are doing larger scale companies in India without Japanese companies. All the names are mentioned here. At the same time, there are entire financial and financial services ecosystem is also set up in India. So larger banks, insurance companies, securities companies, and life insurance companies, they all have big businesses set up already in India. So when you come to India, you will feel home. These are the few of the partnership pillars that India and Japan have had a bilateral relationship. I will not go much into details on these. Japan is also supporting India on the major infrastructure project, and we are also seeing that the first bullet train between Mumbai and Ahmedabad will be set up with support of Japan. I will quickly talk about micro, small and medium enterprises in India and how important they are to the Indian economy. So this is the definition. This is an official definition of the Indian government of how they defined micro and small and medium enterprises. So it is a percentage of, it's an amount that you have invested in plant and machinery, or what is your overall turnover, and basis that you see here that 45% of the MSME are spending more than 10% of their revenue on the technology investments that they are doing. We are expecting that 40% of the GDP contribution will come from the MSME businesses, the small and medium enterprises here. There are about 64 million MSME that are already set up in India. This is the borrowing market size of MSME. There are 44 trillion rupees. We as a bank are supporting about 8% of lending to MSMEs. 90% of the MSMEs in India are now accepting digital payments. They contribute about 45% of India's exports. MSME has a special place in the Indian economy per se. There are a lot of government schemes that support the MSME setup in India, as well as they can go for cheaper loans, they can go for unsecured loans. There are many schemes that support these companies into India. I'll briefly talk about ICICI Bank. ICICI Bank is like a mega bank in India, one of the largest private sector bank in India. We are the 18th largest bank in the world by market value across all banks in the world. We are present in about 14 countries in various parts. Where India as a country has lot of interest, ICICI Bank is present either through a branch, subsidiary, or a representative office. We have a balance sheet size of about $300 billion. We have 22,000 touch points. So when you go to India and when you are going to any office, on your way you will see one ICICI Bank or a ATM or a branch anywhere. So that's the scale at which the bank is there in India. We are a systemically important bank. So Basel norms require that the government has to declare a few banks in India, in every country, which are systemically important bank. In their list of first banks, ICICI Bank was declared as a systemically important bank, and by the definition it says that anything that happens to this bank will have an impact on the economic growth of the country. In India, the subsidiaries of S&P and Moody's have rated ICICI Bank AAA. This is the highest rating that any company can get into India. We are present across all financial services in India. We are the leader in most of them. We are second largest private bank. We are into insurance, securities, life insurance, general insurance, mutual funds, all businesses as a bank. This is our geographical reach. As I said, where India as a country has lot of interest, ICICI Bank has taken that leap and present there. This briefly talks about why ICICI Bank is now a systemically important bank, one of the most important banks for the Indian economy. At the same time, our technology is one of the most critical technology for the Indian government. It means that any harm to the infrastructure of ICICI will be a threat on national security at that level of security that is provided by the Indian government. We are the only Indian bank who have Japanese relationship managers. We have 5 Japanese RMs and 1 Indian RM who speaks Japanese, so total 6 of them. They are based in Hong Kong, but they travel Japan at least once in 4 months. They travel India on a regular basis to build up relationship with the bank, with the clients. Thank you so much for listening to me. Arigatou gozaimasu.
Thank you so much, sir, for your presentation. With this, we will now conclude today's event on enhancing India-Japan collaboration in SME sector. We would like to thank all the speakers and participants for their valuable time. There will be a networking reception with light refreshments just outside of the auditorium. If you have used simultaneous interpretation receivers, please make sure to return the receiver to the reception desk. 本日のセミナーはこれにて終了とさせていただきます。ご登壇者、ご参加者の皆様に心より感謝申し上げます。この後は会場外にて軽食付きのネットワーキングリセプションを開催いたします。皆様ぜひご参加ください。同時通訳レシーバーをご利用の方は受付にご返却をお願いいたします。Thank you so much. ありがとうございました。